God killed God's son, who was also kind of God, to appease God's self for God's self. That's very funny. For human beings being imperfect, like God created them to be. Woo! By Rev. Dr. Caleb J. Lines. Well, Reverend, they certainly aren't sending their best, isn't they? Well, well, well. Tell me you don't understand atonement theology without telling me you don't understand atonement theology. Ladies and gentlemen, I found this very interesting Facebook post, and it says, God killed God's son, who was also kind of God, to appease God's self for God's self. That's very funny. For human beings being imperfect, like God created them to be. Woo! By Rev. Dr. Caleb J. Lines. Well, Reverend, they certainly aren't sending their best, isn't they? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's certainly read the text and dismantle this bit by bit. Like the atonement, is it for human beings being imperfect? Is it, did God created them to be imperfect? Is it to appease God's self? Uh, is God's son killed for this reason? It's just a whole bunch of presuppositions, right? Well, firstly, I think before I even get into this, let's see what Jesus says. Because certainly Jesus having something to say is probably most important than people saying that, oh, God killed him. What did Jesus say? Well, this is John chapter 10, verse 18. No one takes it away from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. So this is him referring to his life. I have authority to lay it down. I have authority to take it up again. This charge I received from my Father. So God the Father gave something to the Son, and this charge was, you have the power to lay your life down for whoever you want, meaning offer yourself up, and you can take your life back again. So this idea of God murdering anybody, what are we doing here, guys? Like, what about Jesus? What did Jesus say? But nevertheless, let's tackle this line by line. So with that being said, let's start with Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. Because this idea of God made you to be imperfect. Ladies and gentlemen, it says, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. So this is Genesis, the beginning, aka God made the trees, the light. He made the stars, the moon, split land from sea, and in verses 26 to 27, made man in his image. So he's saying, "Yep, I did pretty good on this. Everything's really good. Everything's very good." And so this idea that God made us to be imperfect, as if trying to trap us. No, that's not the story. God made us very well. And then we get into, well, what happened? If he made us very good, how do we turn out very bad? Well, Romans chapter 3, verse 23 says it best. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. In other words, humanity chose sin. Wow. Yeah, you ever made something to be used for a specific purpose and was made very well, but is used wrong, right? like ordinary kitchen utensils used for weapons, and it's like, no, those were used to certainly help making meals better, right? This has fallen short of expectation. This was expected to help keep life, right? Empower the living through giving them better meals. Now it's used by violent, interesting people. You know what I'm saying? The knife example. And so Well, how do we know? How do we know this isn't merely just how we're made, right? God made us good, but we turn out bad. Well, I think Romans 3 actually does a better job by going deeper into this. Before we get to verse 23, right? Verses 10 to 15 says it like this: As it is written, none is righteous, no, not one. So none has righteousness, none has virtue inherent to do good. And is it God's fault? Well, let's look at it. Verse 11. No one understands, no one seeks after God. Oh, so we turn away, we turn from our factory settings of being made to serve God's purpose of being very good. We don't understand, we avoid God, right? We don't want understanding, we don't seek after God. What else? It gets worse. Verse 12. All have turned aside, together they have become worthless. Oh, so you were worth something. You were very good, but you turned away from that, and that's why your value or your status has fallen. Oh, that's humanity? That's everyone who have sinned? Interesting. Then it gets worse. No one does good. So your choices aren't always virtuous, aren't good, aren't like aren't aren't to what how God defines holy. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. That idea of a throat, something comes out, like something that comes out of us. The things that come out of us aren't good. Like the idea of open grave, meaning it's prepared for somebody who was killed, who has died, meaning what comes out of us breeds death. They use their tongues to deceive, meaning our language. We twist good communication. We twist good or truth. We are deceptive. The venom of asp is under their lips, meaning meaning our communications are filthy and inherently corruptive. And these are all inherent to us, right? God made a certain way, but what do we choose to do? Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. Curses meaning um, binding principles, a promise or an oath that is consequential. Think of when they were trying to kill Paul, they bound themselves under a curse, and they said, we're not gonna eat until well we kill Paul." And even Moses talks about, "Hey, I set before you blessings and curses." Blessings, aka this oath, this covenant, this binding agreement is good if you keep to it, but will be consequential to you if you reject it or not keep to it. Of course, bitterness, um, very bad speaking, profane language, bitterness, like bitter. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Their actions, their movements, their devices are quick, meaning just that's the first thing, that's the quickest thing, that's the easiest thing to shed blood, to harm. This is humanity in a nutshell, broken down. This is what it means for us not to be righteous. This is our first thing. Not and what's fascinating is it doesn't leave the nuances of good, like one or two good things can bring about. They know how to do good. Even Jesus talks about this, right? He says, "Hey, you being evil, knowing how to give good gifts," right? He's making it very clear there is, like, you're not independent of the knowledge of good, you just turn away from doing it, and that's why you are not righteous. And so this is the idea of actually what goes beyond imperfect. This is sinful, like imperfections. That term missing the mark literally means, well, that term sin like means missing the mark, but missing the mark of what? Doing good, evil. You are imperfect in being virtuous, which means you are condemnable or wicked. This is important because, I mean, even Jesus in John 3:18 says it on this wise: "Whoever believes in him is not condemned. Whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God." In other words, your actions leave you condemnable. You already are under fire for the evil that you already are. Believing, meaning receiving what God, like the mercy that God has, allows us to escape said evil, escape said judgment. And so that breaks down the idea of humans being made by God to be imperfect, and he's gonna appease himself by killing his son, right? No, his son gives his life willingly to do good unto those who are evil. So I think so that they may become the righteous of God, or become good or pleasing unto God. And so this is important because now we get to the idea of this of Jesus and what is the atonement. Well, I think Romans chapter 6 verse 23 says it best. For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Jesus Christ our Lord. There's the balance. The wage of sin is death. Jesus Christ died for sins, who is not kind to God, fully God, equal with God. I'll put the verse on the screen, but off memory, it's John chapter 5 verse 18. But nevertheless, God judges sins, punishes sin. He is the just. And we'll get into that. We'll get into this verse because this is probably the last verse I have on the screen. Romans chapter 3 verse 26. I've been to this verse before in the past, but it's so beautiful. It was to show his righteousness at the present time, so that he might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. In other words, God demonstrates his righteousness, and in that he is the just, meaning he is fair, aka sins have been punished. And is also the justifier, meaning he's also the merciful, meaning on his account, on his approval, he grants salvation, saving, purification, all the good stuff to those who believe. And so atonement is this: God punished evil, but also created redemption. Because it's funny how they leave out the idea that, well, Christ is risen. I need to put on any verse on the screen for that. The tomb was empty. He ascended to the throne, sitting at the right hand of God. So God did not kill God's son only. God's son offered himself up to God as a perfect atonement, on behalf of human beings, and on behalf of the justice of God, that God should punish sins, but also liberate sinners, which is powerful. It's beautiful. That's what he did for you and me. And so don't believe goofy Facebook posts like this. Like, some people get it, some people don't get it. I mean, the Bible makes it very clear. He's hidden this knowledge, meaning this understanding, right? Like the true gospel. He's hidden these things from the wise and the prudent, and given them over to babes, aka his adopted, born again child of God, children of God. This understanding that this is his mercy to the human race, and you have received it, so therefore good unto you. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did I hit the nail on the head, or is this guy, Mr. Reverend Dr. Caleb, got a few degrees that I can't keep up with? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Appreciate you for staying this long. See you guys in the next one. Take care.